From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined as always with our super producer, Alexis, codename Doc Holliday Jackson. Most importantly, you are here, and that makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. We could not be more pleased to join with you today, fellow conspiracy realists. We get to hear from you and your cohort of listeners. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the correspondence we received regarding incandescent and LED bulbs. We're going to hit on several things from episodes that we did on real estate, the funeral industry. But maybe we got to shout out some wonderful letters we got about magnets. We got a lot of stuff to get to.
But how do they work?
Right. The first thing we're going to do is shout out Lucas, a.k.a. Papa Caps. He wrote to us and said this: "Hey guys, I heard on a recent podcast that you all don't use a P.O. box, so I'll just let you know what the surprise fan mail was, whatever. So when I talked to you last, I was working on starting my own business, and from past episodes, I know it's right up your alley. I started a hot sauce company, and everybody, Papa Caps is giving us all a 4-pack of his delicious hot sauces that he makes now. Yeah, one of them, my favorite one, is called Sweet Reaper, and guess what's in that one, boys?
Carolina Sweet Reaper?
That Carolina Reaper. Oh, I cannot wait to try this hot sauce. It also has bell peppers and onions and brown sugar in it. Yum. You can go to papacapsfoods.com. That's PAPACAPSFOODS.com.
That's good branding. That's well done, sir.
Right? And you can order your own. That's very exciting. Thank you so much for shouting us out and for sending us some saucy sauce.
Yeah, you can also check him out if you happen to be in the area at the Nashville, Tennessee Hot Sauce Expo.
Nice.
It should be coming up, but we'll get the date for you there. It'll probably be later this year, maybe in November.
Guys, I just noticed the clever double entendre in his name. Papa Caps, as in like capsaicin, right?
Yeah.
And also, caps like blah, blah.
Oh.
I'm a Papa Cap in that capsaicin.
That's amazing. I just thought about the spicy spice. Awesome stuff there. Let's go to our next message. It comes from, well, we're not going to say the name until the end here. This is just a fun message. Here we go. So I'm not like a scientist or anything, but I do drink a lot of Faygo. And I'm certainly not an expert in magnetism, unless we're talking personality. But as I understand it, magnetism is caused by unpaired electrons orbiting their atomic nuclei on the same plane and in the same direction. That is very much a layman's understanding and explanation, but I feel like it should be much more common knowledge because it's not especially complicated and it's really kind of cool and interesting. That's really as much as I know about magnetism, but if there's anyone who could expound on the subject in an esoteric manner, it's you wise gentlemen, so get after it. Clearly, this falls under stuff they don't want you to know, since when you ask scientists, they be lying and shiz. That's from Arborius, Master of Plants.
Said like a true juggalo.
Amazing. Thank you, Arborius, Master of Plants. Okay, and guys, here is the last thing I have to share for today. This is a message from Dewey J. It is a voice message, and it is about small-town corruption.
Hi, guys. Dewey J. from Illinois, where our governors make our license plates. Well, 4 of the last 10 got their chance when they went to jail. You can use this on air. You had a recent episode about Illinois corruption. You're missing one that's going on right now. Tiffany Hinyard, mayor and township supervisor of Dalton, Illinois. She's calling herself the super mayor, but really she's the super corrupt mayor trying to build a cult of personality. She's been spending money not approved by the village oversight board and even not telling them about the things she's spending money on. Now, the village board members are doing their job of accountability, asking for records. Tiffany's response was to physically lock him out of the building and to lock him out of the financial system software. So some examples of things she's doing. She's round up $110,000 credit card spending, not accounted for. She wants them to pay the bill, but doesn't want to give them any receipts. She spent $170,000 to travel just for 7 months, spent $34,000 in Las Vegas on one trip alone. She's been hiring friends, Some of them not qualified for the job and paying them more than the going rate. Overpaying for goods and services. For example, she bought a 2023 truck. Cash price for that is $93,000. Well, she got that with $56,000 interest on top. She's using city vehicles for staff for non-city business. For example, her march to Springfield for her personal charity. And the city has a deficit of about $7 million. All this for a city of only 21,000 people. And in my opinion, worst of all, she's breaking Robert's rules of orders in public meetings. God, the audacity of it. Well, in town meetings and social media, she's been yelling at the board, telling them they need to pay the bills. And the FBI's finally heard her, and they've started a probe into the super corrupt mayor. So maybe we need to bring the real heat and start a stuff they don't want you to know investigation. Well, I love the show, guys. And I do have one last question. He always says, they call me Ben. Is he hiding something? What is his real name?
All right. No, hold on. That was too far, Dewey J. That was too far. Okay.
I think this is a great idea for an episode. And thank you, Dewey J. Because
what about your true identity?
No, the mayor in Illinois. Because I've been keeping track on this a little bit too. Because some clips of her went viral pretty recently, and it's strange how much stuff we've heard from our fellow listeners about Illinois in specific when we asked for just, general small town corruption. And I swear, dear friends, about every fourth email was about something screwy in Illinois. It was nuts.
Speaking of just those clips of this particular Mayor Tiffany Henyard, let's go to a quick clip. This is going to be from WGN News. This clip was posted on February 6th, 2024 on their YouTube channel, and it is titled, Dolton Mayor to Critics, quote, "I'm the leader." Just so you get an understanding of what Dewey J was saying about this mayor has been yelling at the board members when they're having meetings, and what is it, breaking Robert's rules of order?
The audacity.
This is just a quick example. Here we go.
Y'all forget I am the leader. They want to hear from the mayor. If y'all ain't heard that yet, the mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth. Y'all don't do no work.
Okay. So that's just a quick one. Didn't really have any substance there. Sorry for that, guys, but it was definitely a clip of the mayor yelling. That clip goes on to discuss the FBI investigation into this mayor and all of the things basically that Dewey J outlined for us. She just seems particularly upset.
Yeah, and you do. I mean, every mayor or indeed governor, political official is going to have their own style of approach, right? And so she very clearly is exhibiting passion for this, for what she sees as political attacks, right? So that in itself, I would say, it's definitely not illegal. It's not super normal. I was interested to learn, Matt, and Dewey, you probably know this too. In the last election, this mayor received 80% of the vote.
82,
more than 80%.
February 2021, youngest female mayor in the village's 130-year history.
And I do think federal indictment, at least from the sources we read, I do think a federal indictment is very much in the cards. And it's not, look, sometimes people can put loyalty to a political party over things like rule of law or over good jurisprudence. It does sound like there's some smoke here for sure. It's going to have to go to a court or go to a full investigation to see if there's a fire, but it could be a great episode for us to dive into because, again, the facts are pretty disturbing, just even on a surface level read, right?
Yeah.
Or the allegations, I should say. The allegations at this point.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of some of the allegations being made against Justice Clarence Thomas. It's not quite the same in terms of actually using, funds designated for other things, but the level of kind of taking advantage of a elected position in order to get all kinds of extra swag and stuff does seem to be in line with it a little bit. And anytime, I personally hear about elected officials abusing their power in this way. It just kind of, it's, I don't know, as you would say, Ben, it's a little tut.
Yes.
There's some intense allegations that are, it's running up on, I don't know if racketeering is the right word, holding people's businesses hostage because they're refusing to donate to the mayoral campaign, allegedly. This is all allegedly.
Right.
This is coming from ABC7 Chicago. I'm just going to read this quick thing. This is from an article titled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard accused of corruption. Trustees approve call for federal investigation. It was posted February 24th, 2024. This is just a quick excerpt. Quote, running a business in Dalton has also been getting harder. Multiple businesses have been shut down recently over unresolved licensing issues, including Lawrence Gardner's trucking company. It's been sitting idle since January 2023 when the village accused him of selling liquor without a license during a party that was being hosted there. He denies the allegation, with a judge ruling in his favor, and has other ideas about why the action may have been taken. He says, quote, because I wouldn't donate the money anymore. I wouldn't give her any more money. That's according to Gardner. And this is one last thing here. Gardner said he's among several business owners who, shortly after Henyard took office, complied with her request for a $3,500 donation to the village. But again, the thought here is that he's no longer donating after 2021 and the initial donation, and that's why he's being held up.
And he's getting jammed up through like regulatory retaliation, which is kind of easy to do, to be honest with you, because some of those permits and things that you would need as a business, they can be kind of black box in terms of the approval. And a lot of times news doesn't pay attention to them. One thing I saw, Matt, that I think is also pretty weird. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know you could do this. Fox 32 out of Chicago by Dane Placco points out that people are saying this official put in a poison pill to scare off political rivals. What happened is at the very last minute before they had a vote and a big meeting, a town meeting, Henyard introduced an ordinance that says she's going to continue to receive her yearly salary as township supervisor. That's $224,000 a year, which is a lot. But here's the thing. If someone else becomes supervisor, in other words, if someone else challenges Henyard in an election and wins, the salary for the position drops down to $25,000 a year. That's a pay cut of almost 90%. And so the thing that her enemies are saying is they're like, this is an on purpose, again, poison pill thing to disincentivize people from running against her.
That's insane.
I would have to learn more. I'll learn more as we get closer to the episode. But yeah, that
sounds wrong. Like maybe, but again, the attorney general is like, we need to look at this. It's just, and the FBI says we need to look at this thing. By the way, Mayor Tiffany Henyard has a podcast, guys. It's called On the Move, ONTHA Move podcast. It's going to debut on Spotify, or wait, maybe it just did. No, it's about to debut on Spotify the week that this is coming out. So definitely check it out. Let us know what you think. Yeah. Give us some notes after you've listened.
And we're not doing this. We're not doing this because it's a show on Spotify, folks. To be very clear.
No, we love Spotify.
Yeah, we're also on Spotify, so there's no conspiracy to that aspect. But
certainly not.
Yeah,
I did check, guys, our internal systems to make sure it wasn't being produced by iHeartRadio or iHeart Podcast.
Yeah. But
it's not.
That would be funny though if an ad for it ran right after this. I would love that.
Oh, wait a second. Now, hold on. She's telling the trustees of Dalton she doesn't have the receipts, but here's a quote in a video that she put out to promote her new podcast. Quote, I've got the tea with the receipts. Matter of fact, if you want the tea, get it from me.
Ooh.
Hold on. But she doesn't have the receipts, but she also has the receipts. This is we're in a situation, boys. We need to find out more.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's all I've got. Let us know about your small town corruption. Doesn't have to be Illinois. It can. We continue to find out more, as Ben said, but it could be any state. We'll be right back with more messages from you.
And we have returned. I have two pretty interesting ones here, and it's increasingly a fascinating exercise to try to pick just a few to share. But here's one from Donatello, which I thought was an incredibly important point. It's pretty short, so we'll share this one in full. Greetings, gents. In the recent listener mail, you guys got on a roll regarding LED versus incandescent light bulbs. Naturally, you wondered why in the Sam hell, nice, Donatello, would anyone have a use for something as outdated as an incandescent bulb? Here is your answer. I am disabled with over 13 visual impairments. 2 of them are photophobia and photoallodynia. The 2 of them combined make light appear much brighter than it truly is, and this causes physical pain in my eyes. Not all light is created equal, however. Natural light hurts the least, and light from LED bulbs appears immensely bright and causes extreme pain. Light from incandescent bulbs, however, still causes pain, but not near to the extent as LED. This is a real problem for me and everyone else in my predicament, as incandescent bulbs are becoming very hard to come by, and the price is increasing exponentially as the supply dwindles. All public places and other people's homes are rapidly switching to LED bulbs, making those places inaccessible to people like me. Someday, when I run out of incandescent bulbs, I might be forced to light my house with candles. Wish me luck. And I don't think Donatello is joking here, but I thought that was a really good point about accessibility that I don't know about you guys, but it had not occurred to me.
Nor to me.
Donatello, I would love to know more, because it does feel like there are LED bulbs that will put off far fewer. What is the correct term? Light candles. Looking at you, Wendy's Burger Broker.
Let's go to you, Doc, if that's okay, because you've got the expertise here. For someone with high photosensitivity, are there natural light-esque kind of LED bulbs or non-incandescent things that people could look at?
So with a dimmer, right? I mean, if you could get specialized dimmers, and I know that might be cost preventative, but I do know that's possible. Like if you look at the 40-watt equivalents of LEDs, I wonder what the real difference is there for someone who's going through what Donatello is going through. Doc doesn't know. Doc doesn't know.
Doc will follow
Doc says
up later.
No comment.
Shrug emoji.
You guys.
Oh, geez. My area of knowledge is more so about like film lighting itself. Okay. I could say, oh, this is the best kind of light. We should use LED, or we should use tungsten, or we should use an HMI or whatever when we're on set. But when it comes to like what household style bulbs that people would have access to, that's a little bit out of my
Heard.
Okay.
Yeah. And the word that you were looking for, Matt, a little bit ago is foot candles.
We just wanted to hear you talk lighting.
Yeah,
Doc, that's all.
And I just want to get a chance to shout out Wendy's Burger Broker, which is by far one of the best nicknames you've come up with, and you're pretty great at it.
We should explain though. So, okay, when we're recording this remotely the way we are right now, we can give each other, or we just give ourselves a name, right? Often we will call ourselves by our names or what we go by. Or what they call us, yeah. Often Doc has an amazing name, and all of us do it every once in a while, but Doc always has an amazing name.
The thing is, it's a dangerous game because we will also use the same platform for other things. So sometimes you'll pop into like a very grown-up meeting, and it's like, oh, Vortimax, the author of Toe Destruction, right? Like, what do you think?
Are you insinuating that this is not a grown-up meeting?
No,
it's more fun than a lot of the things where they throw around phrases like cadence and Q4 and stuff, but
not insinuating, outright declaring
as a positive thing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So we're on the case there. Thank you for writing in. And thank you to everybody who took the time to send us an email regarding lights. We had a lot of people who work in related industries who broke down what seems to be a problem in infrastructure, quite honestly. And that's something we talked about when we first mentioned this on Strange News. I believe Matt brought it. I wanted to move to another one. And this is what I've been waiting on to fit in. This is kind of Noel, I think you in particular will enjoy this nice thematic link to some other stuff we're going to explore. But we got a great email from someone that we're going to call Anu Start.
I almost did a spit take.
Start.
Yep, that's it.
Spelled the way you think it is. So we had to let that one slide. This goes across covers a lot of ground. So we're going to give you some excerpts, maybe stop along the way to smell the flowers or whatever. Yeah.
Or the anuses.
Right.
No, it's new start, guys. That's all it is.
New start.
New, like new metal.
like that band New Directions.
Yeah.
So anyway, howdy, friends, says a new start. I have 3 things I'd like to share with you. Please feel free to use the information on air. We're gonna jump around a little here. Jump around. Anu Start says, I'm a licensed funeral director in Oklahoma, and a colleague of mine was able to go to the National Funeral Director Association International Convention in Vegas in August of 2023. He said he was having a tough time finding the right area for the venue. He had trouble checking in to the convention. Eventually, a lady working at check-in told him he was at the wrong expo. He had been trying to check in at some tech convention. So Anu Start, they started looking into this, and they're pretty sure their buddy accidentally ended up at DEF CON. And we've
That's
talked
not a good place to end up.
Not
DEF CON what? We talking about DEF CON 3, 4? How far does it even go? Oh, is this like some sort of hacker convention?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
A totally legit hacker convention, and they love it if you bring your iPhone with you when you come. It's like, this is something we talked about off air because some of our fellow conspiracy realists have been pitching us on going, and we just have to prepare very carefully. I can't remember if we asked this on air, but do you guys want to go to DEF CON with me?
Yes. So a soft yes.
Soft yes. That's the old band that Paul Deckett was in.
You're right.
I can't make it.
Okay. All right.
Your mouth's saying one thing, but your eyes are saying something very different.
Yeah, you got a lot of dramatic irony in those eye gazes. Well, here's the other thing. A month after this DEF CON convention, the ASD Funeral Communications Company, it's an answering service for funeral homes, it got compromised. And ASD has records of doctor phone numbers, names, sensitive personal info about the deceased, including like your SSN, your social security number, your next of kin, your address. So you have to be careful when you go to a place like DEF CON, because you might FAFO, very quickly. But also, we're not saying anybody at DEF CON is criminals. Guys, we're cool. But I want to go so bad. I'm just kind of like, how do we plan for that? So first, we only use cash, right? Second, burner phone, flip phone.
Not your real name, not your real face, no technology. Yeah. I think that's how you do DEF CON.
Just go straight up Luddites, assume a Luddite personality or persona.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we could do it. Here's the one that ties into to some other discussions we'll have. And I think it's almost like part of just one big discussion. And we love connecting listeners this way. A New Start says, I recently listened to a conversation you had about Chinese nationals, the marijuana factory, and human trafficking. I don't know a ton about that particular story, but I can tell you Oklahoma is a hub of human trafficking. Tulsa and Oklahoma City are surrounded by highways that can take you out of state to Arkansas, Texas, Kansas in just 4 to 5 hours. In fact, says Anu Start, my sister has almost been trafficked twice while at a Quick Trip gas station, both times in broad daylight. So road trips are awesome, but do be careful, folks, because when those kind of situations happen, they escalate quickly,
That's scary.
It's something to think about. And then this is the related thing. And I think to game through things here, A New Start, I think the concept of China in topics maybe spoke to you here, because you follow up and conclude saying, when my spouse and I were in the market for buying a house, we had a huge issue with Chinese nationals buying up houses and property and paying cash. At least that's what the realtor told us. When we finally found a house and did the inspection, the realtor and the inspector, who is also a police officer, were talking with us about how Chinese nationals have been buying up property and then turning them into weed farms. For the record, I have nothing against Chinese people. Their culture is fascinating and their cuisine is banging. So say we all. And then A New Start says, as always, stay golden. I feel like it's a real, like at first I was worried that we were being overly paranoid about foreign capture of U.S. land. And it happens in Canada and Australia too. I guess I was just concerned about how easily that slides into xenophobia and xenophobia and racism. But there's a conspiracy afoot.
Yeah, well, it's it stinks that there is. You're absolutely right. There's massive sensitivity when it comes to anything like that, right? And so you have to be careful about how you talk about it, what you think about it. But when there are facts that we can lay out, I think it's worth our time. There was another story I saw, I think it was this week or last week, Ben, that we were going to mention, but it was, or maybe it was a listener mail that came through. Another state that's limiting foreign capture.
Mm-hmm. That's what our setup is too. Yeah. We're going to get to that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it is going in a state by state way. Right. And it's a very difficult conversation for people to have, because in a country like the United States, the idea is generally, if you can afford to buy something and it is legal to buy that thing, then you're golden, because it's your money, right? Pursuit of happiness and all that. But then if you look at so many other countries in the world, it's difficult to actually purchase land as a foreigner. And that comes from real concerns about hegemony, about surreptitious means of penetration or infiltration and control. Like, I don't know. I don't know where the line is. Like, how do you make it so that the average person in the U.S., resident or citizen or what have you, can afford to buy a home? There's so many problems with it now.
Well, I mean, it would require the government stepping in and creating programs. I mean, there are some programs, but there are things like first-time home buyers credits and things like that. But that doesn't apply to availability of property. Right. That's just giving you a little bit of a boost if you're a first-time home buyer. So what we need to do is like we talked about with, how do we protect land, in the United States? How it's only because of the forward-lookingness of certain individuals historically that we have things like national parks, because if it hadn't have been for them and the establishment of the national park system, all of that stuff would have been developed to hell and gone, no question about it. And so that little caveat built in to capitalism, we've got some areas that are not on the table. So there needs to be something like that. I'm not saying it's the same as creating national parks, but there needs to be some protection at the very least so that citizens of our own country get first dibs on property, and not just these multinational companies that may well be based in our country. We're of course largely talking about foreign entities swooping in, but even these developers, they need to be somewhat hamstrung a little bit. But in the name of capitalism, there are some that would believe that would be a no-go. That would be hampering capitalism. But I think in order to have fairness, you have to have some checks and balances on pure capitalism. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I think that's pretty balanced and fair, because weirdly enough, the actual day-to-day existence in the nation of China is pretty hyper-capitalistic. Right. I don't know. I think you can pack a lot into these terms and ideologies, but the numbers don't lie. You could go to the New York Times. There was a great article that came out earlier this month by David Goodman, who talks about the U.S.-Chinese geopolitical tensions and how that is also fueling these moves to ban Chinese nationals in specific from buying land or buying investments, because what they're saying is these folks aren't coming in, they're coming in purporting to be individual actors, but they're functioning as proxies of a state power. And that gets really weird.
Yeah. The thing I was thinking about earlier, guys, was it was reporting from middle of last year, and it was 3 or 4 states, Kansas, Missouri, Florida, and there's 1 or 2 others.
Texas wants to stop it.
Yeah, that is attempting to ban and or limit the sale of any property to a foreign entity, no matter what it is. But then like Florida is aiming directly at China. Right.
And DeSantis doubled down on that. I think it was in January of this year. He had a news conference. Yeah, January 10th. Mm-hmm. He had a news conference where he was 10 toes down on it. And the way they write these things sometimes just say non-U.S. residents, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. But in his case, quite publicly, he's aiming for Chinese nationals because he believes that they are, quote, dangerous foreign entities, which is totally, by the way, not true. Not everybody is working for Uncle Xi. You know what I mean? That's where the xenophobia comes in. But we've been getting a lot of letters about this issue ever since we did 2 episodes on this. We also had a conversation or 2 about it in Strange News and listener mail. We want these stories to keep coming. So let us know, folks. Give us a call. Send us an email, conspiracy@iheartradio.com. Tell us what's going on the ground. We want you to be our correspondents from your neck of the global woods, and your information is invaluable. With that, we're going to pause for a word from our sponsor. I assume the 4 of us are just going to go buy a couple houses, straight cash. Everybody got their suitcase.
On the barrelhead.
They've released. Yeah. Great.
It's time for a new start.
It's time for a new start. And hey, if I pay in cash, you don't need names to come into this, right? Okay. All right. Ad break.
And we're back with the perfect piggyback listener mail to the last part of the conversation we just had from A New Start. This one comes from Gazzolo. I'm just going to jump right in. Gents, I subscribe to a legislative update service in my home state of Pennsylvania. I have to. I'm a lawyer. I thought you might be interested in pending legislation that seeks to expand restrictions on who can own farmland and land around critical infrastructure. I'm attaching the link to the memo of the proposed changes to the law and a copy of the bill. Here are some highlights. The amount of farmland owned by foreign entities is up 50,000 acres over last year. It is expanded to prohibit certain countries and individuals related to them. There must therefore be evidence that nation states are getting around the law by having proxies or individuals purchase the land. The new law would have a cybersecurity task force. I wonder how much access the task force will have to everyday citizens' information in the name of protecting municipal infrastructure. Well, that is a question unto itself, isn't it? And I bet you we'll have something to say about that. Going on, there are also broad provisions that would allow the state to review all sorts of transactions. There are also penalties to a title company that willfully fails to comply, penalties of up to $1,000. This is interesting in a lot of ways, and it is clear that most nations don't want to do conventional battle with the U.S., i.e. guns and tanks, but they are certainly willing to do battle in other ways. It makes you think about the long-term plan of buying up so much farmland. Thanks, and I hope you find this interesting. We do. Feel free to use it on air and use my nickname, Gazzolo. And then Gazzolo does link out to this legal database. And I'm just going to give a little bit more information about the bill itself. It is from the House of Representatives, and it is from Representative Barbara Gleim, Representative Stephanie Skilaba, I believe that's right, and Representative Timothy R. Bonner, all House members. The subject of the memo is just this prevent unfriendly foreign entities from gaining access to and influencing our institutions and assets. Very broad language there. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to read the little short memo here. Over the past several years, there has been increased attention paid to the efforts of unfriendly foreign nations and related actors to influence our institutions and gain ownership and access to our critical infrastructure and facilities. While the federal government maintains the frontline defenses against such foreign efforts through the military and national security apparatus, the Commonwealth has a role to play, particularly when it comes to oversight of institutions and functions that are typically handled at the state level. Several incidents across the nation have highlighted some areas of concern that the Commonwealth can address. The increase in ownership of domestic farmland by foreign entities raises questions about food security. The hacking of the Aliquippa Municipal Authority shows the need for the Commonwealth to provide a cybersecurity assistance to protect infrastructure. The military deemed the purchase of 370 acres near an Air Force base in North Dakota by a Chinese firm a security risk. This legislative package is designed to prevent unfriendly foreign nations and related actors from gaining access and influencing our institutions and assets. And then there are some exhibits, I guess, or some documents that are put forth from the various sponsors of this legislative package. And there's an interesting, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's an interesting little excerpt from the first one from Representative Gleim, specifically referring to the idea of protecting the Commonwealth's agricultural lands from acquisition by foreign entities and foreign governments. It says, as of December 31st, 2022, more than 400,000 acres of farmland in the Commonwealth is foreign owned, which amounts to 2.3% of the privately held agricultural land. While this is a relatively low figure in comparison to other states, it is an increase of more than 50,000 acres from the previous year. The Agricultural Land Acquisition by Aliens Law, Act 39 of 1980, prohibits aliens who are not residents of the United States and foreign governments from purchasing more than 100 acres of farmland in the Commonwealth. And then it goes on to talk about how this legislation would expand upon that, with some of the reasons that our listener provided in the body of the email, just in terms of, looking into, is this being done through proxies, et cetera. So I don't know, guys. Well, let's just maybe start there with the idea of expanding measures to prevent the outright land grabbing, of our other countries, or, specifically what's referred to as hostile kind of countries, unfriendlies.
Can we quickly just list those countries that they put in there? Because they did put countries inside that document. I'm just going to list them really quickly just so we have an understanding of what they're talking about. Yeah. It says China, Russia, Belarus, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, that we just talked about, Syria, and, quote, other countries that do not permit Americans to purchase farmland in their countries.
Quid pro quo.
So the usual suspects, and then the idea of reciprocity.
Exactly.
Gazzolo, I just want to say this letter made my day when you wrote to it. I also really like the way this guy writes, because he said, I'm subscribed to this. I have to. I'm a lawyer. It's like I could read your shrug, dude. That was really cool.
You guys think this is Jack Kelly? He's a lawyer? You think that's him?
We'll have to see a picture of hands to confirm.
All right.
But yeah, this is and I appreciate you sharing out these sources, Noel, because this is the pickle of it. One very important thing to remember is there are a lot of people who say, hey, this is just paranoia, or it's a vector for racism, because if you look at the entirety of the pie, then you'll see that it's not a huge percentage of the pie.
It was the first time I'd heard that 2% number thrown around. I think in my mind, it was way more than that. But to your point, I don't think that's entirely the issue, right?
The issue is the rate of increase, right? Not the absolute number. The issue is the rise in percentage, and then also to say the quiet part out loud, to be a little bit dystopian. Some of the more long-term opposition to this phenomenon comes about from the recognition that it's going to be much more difficult to get potable water and to get reliable agricultural land for a lot of countries in the future. It's on the way. It's coming, so there's probably not going to be a law that stops Nestle from extracting groundwater, but I don't know, man. It's icky. It's complicated.
Can we just quickly brainstorm on something that Gazzolo said? The potential strategy associated with buying up large acreage farmland. So it is potentially that, like you're talking about, Ben, just like limiting those types of lands that the country in which that land exists, like preventing them from having access to it. I think there's something, maybe I'm wrong, I think there's something to having strategically placed like technological hubs. So like a large server from which you could launch a cyber attack more locally, or just from various parts from within the country. That's
true. That's a very astute and valid concern. I would agree with that. That's not tinfoil hat stuff at all, because it could happen very easily. I would add to that also the idea of surveillance and SIG-int. That's a huge piece of it. So, por qué no los dos, right? Like,
Yeah.
do all of it at once. Grow some corn too. Steal the water.
You're talking too about Gazzolo's mention of the idea of the broadness of some of these provisions that could allow states to dig into maybe business that isn't even associated with this, just in the name of trying to prevent some of these things from happening.
Well, yeah, I think, well, okay, so I'm just trying to put myself in the position of somebody who is buying up farmland strategically, top down, like, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to buy up farmland in far-flung areas of the country that we want to eventually, attack or weaken in some way, right? If you're thinking militarily, one thing you could do is have decentralized cyber attack hubs that are coming from within the house, right? So it's not an attack that you could shut the pipeline down. We recently talked about how much of the internet traffic that we deal with on a daily basis gets shipped across these underwater pipelines, right? If you were able to access inside the area, right, you didn't need to go through those pipes to carry out massive attacks on a country.
You've already got boots on the ground. You already got like little strategic positions of strength, strongholds, kind of, I guess you could say.
And you wouldn't be able to cut it off, like you just cut it off immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially if it's decentralized and coming from all different parts of like farmland from all over the country. I'm just thinking about that. Like that could be a really dangerous thing. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just thinking that could be one of the reasons.
The U.S. Air Force agrees, though. In that New York Times article I cited earlier, they're saying, gosh, I guess, this was in January as well. They were talking about a Chinese company, ostensibly a private company, that bought a corn mill in North Dakota. Very few people live in North Dakota, relatively. But this corn mill was not far from a U.S. Air Force base. Indeed, it was close enough to make them uncomfortable. And they, without specifying what threat they were concerned about, they said publicly, this is a significant threat. It poses near and long-term risk of significant impacts to our operations in the area. So I take it like, we all know that politicians in this country are vulnerable to grandstanding, right? To chasing the clout of public opinion. So maybe they can be a little bit more theatrical, just to be honest. And it's a little bit more concerning, I think, when the actual armed services are saying, watch out for this, right? Because what they're basically saying is they don't think it's a private company at all.
Whoa. This goes back to the strange news episode from this week. Well, we need more electromagnetic warfare specialists. Those are the, remember we said those are the guys that disrupt enemy electronic systems with directed energy. Ooh, just aim it at the corn mill, or what was it?
Yeah.
Silo.
I like also, we have to exercise empathy. There are a lot of people who get jobs at these places and they're just, they're nationals from a different country. Mm-hmm. And they're like, all right, well, I got to set up this corn mill. And now people think I'm 007. What gives? That's very stressful. It's already very stressful to work in agriculture. But it's also very tough to find the line of this kind of thing. Because, again, without sounding too conspiratorial, here's how these things can sometimes happen. It happens a lot with students. You are, let's say, and I don't want to pick on China here, but it's a plausible example. You're a student, you get something like a scholarship from the government of China to travel to, Europe, or to travel to Japan, or to travel to the United States or Canada, et cetera. And then while you're there, just a regular student, they start asking you questions on the other side, right? Back home. And these questions that they're asking may not necessarily seem sinister or, evil stuff, but they're also the people who paid for your education. And they might give you advice on jobs that you should get, right? And that might be very specific advice. And that's a concern to the U.S. intelligence operations, which is, again, it's terribly unfair to the majority of people, the vast majority of people who are just like, I want to study physics at MIT. You know what I mean?
Guys, yeah. Do you think the United States is particularly vulnerable to this kind of thing because of kind of the motto of the country of come on in and let's let's try things out. Let's make some money
together. That's a slippery
together.
slope, though, isn't it? I know what you're saying. I just mean that's where the xenophobia kind of can start to creep in. I guess
I know, but it makes me wonder why there appears to be such a movement over the past a little less than 10 years towards that, in not just the United States, but especially in the Western countries, about we have to be careful, we have to watch out, and we got to protect what's ours, and
yeah.
But I just wonder if like that stance of openness and like let's embrace globalization to its fullest extent, then like it's a psychological pushback or something because of the perceived dangers.
Yeah, honestly, man, I don't know if I would use the word vulnerable, because we have to remember in these kind of situations, we're not really talking about moral absolutes or good versus bad guys. It's very much a two-way street. And the U.S. is doing the same things. And there, again, it sounds like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy level things, but it does happen. And there's a cost benefit. I guarantee you somewhere there's been a conversation where they're saying, well, are we able to risk the potential cost of compromisation, as you said? Is that gamble worth the benefit we get from having some people that study with us and then go back to their home countries and, get some specific job advice? Like, yeah, that can, I don't know. And that's I hope I wasn't
coming off as xenophobic there. I'm trying to analyze.
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, and it also makes me think about like all of the xenophobia that we see and that has been, happening for a long time. Is that a pushback against like the intent of the quote unquote founding fathers? Like, and where did that whole attitude come from in the first place? The idea of give us, you're tired, you're hungry, and all of that. What does make the United States special, coming from a bunch of, people who today would be looked at largely as very problematic, and obviously slavery still resulted, despite the Constitution. I just wonder, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm being a little muddled with what I'm trying to get at. I just... Like, are we really practicing what we preach? And like, do we still kind of have that open arms mentality at all?
I mean, has this country ever? Like the Overton window shifts back and forth, and even in the days when the U.S. became a thing, even in the days of their most open immigration policies, they were still very specific about countries they did and didn't like. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's way easier to migrate to the U.S. from Ireland than it is from, say, like Burkina Faso or something. And that is by design. And there's a lot of nasty stuff baked into that policy. With this, I don't know. This
is more about if you have money, then we'll talk, we'll do business.
Pretty much, to be honest, and it irritates me so much, man. Pretty much every country has a special just for rich people residency, like a golden passport, basically. If you, and some of them, by the way, some of those prices are surprisingly low. Tell us your favorite. But then a lot of them are like astronomically high. Like New Zealand will take your money and just let you live there. Many countries will, but it's a lot of money.
At one time or what? Like, how does it work?
It's like,
is it like a bribe? Like, what are we talking here?
No, not directly bribe to them, but I'm sure there are a couple of like VIGs, a little vigorous there, but it's more like you will get this special residency opportunity if you agree to invest like $100,000 US in businesses in the country, or, much higher prices.
So possibly for a longer term than just one time. I guess the results may vary, perhaps.
I'm reading here, guys. It says you must be able to invest 750,000 New Zealand dollars in New Zealand's economy and keep it for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you can get a temporary retirement visitor visa.
That
is definitely a rich people deal right there. Yeah. Everything about that. I mean, in terms of retirement, like wow.
Oh, one of the highest numbers actually is Austria. It is if you invest 9.5 million US dollars equivalent, then they'll let you in.
question. This is a little bit off the topic, but because of Brexit, are UK citizens now no longer as easily able to immigrate to other countries in the European Union?
It's still
TBD.
It's still early days, yeah. But
you guys, I just watched my neighbor. I saw a flash of white up on the second floor of my house. And I could see my neighbor just went 45, maybe 50 miles per hour into their garage. And they stuck the landing, but it was just really scary to watch a flash of white go.
When I see that,
man, I'm in the living room.
When I see that, I usually think someone really asked to use the restroom. That's
I've been there.
That's a poop park. You know what I mean?
I think that's exactly what it was. It's scary. It genuinely alarmed me.
So, and some of the things we're talking about here are genuinely alarming, but they are really important.
You're so good. You're such a good pivoter, man.
we have to think about, like, one important point I do want to hit here is that regardless of how you fall on the ideas of real estate or immigration or, ideology and spirit versus ideology and practice, we have to remember that there are a lot of totally innocent people who have busted their asses to get to the United States. And often the problem with crafting laws like this is they're not targeting the real problem. They're targeting people who don't have the legal wherewithal to defend themselves, even if they are innocent. So I don't know. Maybe someone can solve it. You think Gazzolo can solve it?
I think he's interested in it and certainly seems to have the right tools to at least be informed on it. And we really appreciate you sharing those tools with us because this is new. And I haven't seen this reported on at all, even within all of the context of the research that, we've discussed on this topic. So this is really helpful.
And let us know your experiences, folks, on the ground. Big thanks to our Boreas master of plants, Gazzolo, Dewey J, Papa Caps, Donatello, and of course, A New Start. If you want to take a page from their grimoire and join us, we would love to have you. We try to be easy to find online.
That's right. You can find us at the Handle Conspiracy Stuff on Facebook, where we have that old group. Here's where it gets crazy. Join in the conversation there if that's your bag.
6-year anniversary.
I know, right? And it's still alive and kicking. You can also find us at Conspiracy Stuff on YouTube, where we have new video content coming at you every single week, and also Conspiracy Stuff on X, FKA, Twitter. We are Conspiracy Stuff Show, however, on Instagram and TikTok.
Yes, we also have a phone number. You can call it. It is 1-833-STDWYTK. When you call in, you've got 3 minutes. Give yourself a cool nickname and let us know if we can use your name and message on the air. If you don't want to do that, you've got more to send us. Maybe a full story. It'll take us 15 minutes to read. We don't care. We love to read what you send in. Maybe you've got an attachment or links. Send it our way. We are
the folks who read every single email we get. And spoiler, if you've ever played the Wendy's Feast of Legends D&D, I got to send you guys this. No, we want to hear about that too. I can't believe that's a real thing. All right. Conspiracy, iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.